Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. So technically speaking, yeah, I'm number one in the world at something. It's a bit goofy and weird, but that's the point. I'm known as DroneSinger, the Weird Al of drones, number one creator of parody songs about drones. Not because I'm the best singer, not because I gamed the algorithm, but because I leaned into being what makes me, me, my own authentic self. Now, obviously, this is something very niche and extremely specific, and that's exactly how I'm able to claim this being number one, because no one else is crazy or silly enough to pursue this. I just happen to have a unique set of skills and experiences which led me to this point. And after you hear my story, you'll know why it's natural that I became drone singer and no one else can claim this strange number one in the world title. So, why am I creating this video? Well, part of it is to document this story for myself. But also, if you're someone over 50 trying to figure out what your next chapter looks like, I want to show you what can happen when you finally stop hiding the things that make you different. Now, it's not all rainbows and puppy dogs when you decide to embrace your uniqueness. Not everyone's going to appreciate who you are or what you do. But I'd rather be true to myself than try to meet somebody else's expectations. And personally, I've had more positive experiences since I decided to march to the beat of my own drum. So let me tell you how I got to where I am now. For that, though, we have to go back in time to when I was a kid growing up. So since I was very little, as far as I can remember, I've always been interested in aviation and flying. My friends were interested in cars and trucks. Not me. I just wanted things that had wings and that flew in the air. I was just, you could say, plain crazy, pun intended. I ate, slept, and dreamt airplanes and aviation, built model airplanes, flew RC aircraft, and eventually, when I entered college right after high school, I started taking aviation classes, right? To learn how to fly. I took AMPM, which is airframe and power plant, to learn how to be a mechanic. I figure if I knew how to fix them, I had a better chance of getting a job flying them. And I was interested in becoming a corporate pilot, not necessarily a commercial one, but corporate, flying for a business and doing that all around the world. But as usually happens, life took me in a different direction, and I did not make aviation a career. It's still, though, something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I still love aviation. It's just not something that I actually made a career out of. So at the same time as I was growing up and I had this love of aviation, I also had a love of music. I just enjoyed music a lot. My family is very musical. My parents actually met in church. My dad sang, played the guitar. My mom sang and played the piano. And they used to have a friend back in the day who was a teacher. And this lady had several children who grew up to be professionals, doctors, nurses, teachers, lawyers, whatnot. And she did this while she was single because her husband had died when her children were very young. And my parents were very amazed at how she was able to support them, and they all became professionals. And they asked her, "How did you do it?" And her answer was, "Well, I subscribed to all these medical journals, the law journals, teaching journals and books, and then left them laying around the house. And that's what the kids picked up and naturally gravitated to because that's what was around the house." So my parents thought that was a great idea, and they said, "Well, we want to do the same thing, but we want to do that with music." So they bought a whole bunch of instruments, left them laying all around the house, and wouldn't you know it, that's what I gravitated towards. I picked them up, I learned how to play, and I became a multi-instrumentalist. My first instrument was actually the Mexican marching drum. So I learned how to play that when I was in kindergarten when I was living in Mexico. And it was a really cute drum. It was the basis for all the music because it gave me a sense of rhythm, right? And I was proud of myself of learning that. I actually got to march in the Mexico Independence Day through the town where we lived in with other kids, right? We were playing along with like the adults that were also doing the marching band stuff, which was great. My main instrument was trumpet when I was growing up. I played that in high school. but I also learned guitar at an early age. And I play most instruments by ear, and I'm self-taught in most. I did take like 2 or 3 weeks of piano lessons, and that was it. I just couldn't stand the practicing. But I never quite gave up on it, so I learned how to play by ear. My dad taught me some basic chords on there, and I just, mashed at the piano week after week, month after month. Eventually, play good enough that people think I've been taking lessons for a long time, but I haven't. I just kind of got an ear for it, you can say. And then the guitar, I started that when I was 10 years old. My dad bought me a guitar and taught me 3 chords again, similar to the piano. And then I got books. This was before YouTube, so I was doing books and then playing with others and learning. And that's probably what I play most of the time, but I can play almost anything you put in my hands, except fretless instruments. That's a challenge. So I wanted to be a pilot. I also wanted to be a musician at the same time. It's not like I wanted to be one and then the other. No, both of them were very much important. But obviously, I did not make music a career, at least not a full-time career. At the same time, if flying and music was not enough, I also wanted to be a photographer. So one of my grandfathers, my mom's dad, was actually a professional photographer in Los Angeles, California. And this was way back before color photography existed. And he was one of the last ones that was known for doing portraits in black and white and then hand painting them with these special watercolors to tint the black and white photographs to make them look like color photos. Of course, now you can do that with Photoshop, but back in the day, they used to do it by hand. And so I inherited that love of photography and art and painting, right? I took some painting classes when I was in the first grade. Found out that not the best at it, but it did give me a sense of artistic skill. And film, nowadays digital cameras and videos is kind of my visual art form. So if you're keeping track, that's pilot, that's musician, and now photographer or media producer, as we call it these days. And then finally, I was interested in technology. So I grew up in the era when we saw the transition from analog to digital, where desktop computers came into the schools and to the workplaces and at home. And I saw that, and I saw that that was the future. So I learned everything I could about computers and technology. I actually worked at a radio station one time, and part of my job was to convert tapes and cassettes, record players from their analog form into digital, running them through a computer system, using special equipment to take out the clicks, hisses, and pops, and then remaster them and put them on CDs that then we would put into a robotic jukebox that we could then program through a database to play automatically. I decided that technology was my thing, and I went into graphics technology. I got a degree in that, and then worked in digital pre-press in commercial printing for many years, and that's where I got my digital chops. So, aviation, music, media production, and technology, right? So in technology, later on, I learned how to do websites. I learned social media, YouTube, and all that stuff. And that was my tech background. So all of that put together was kind of what I liked, what I learned, and my skills and capabilities, but my interest and my love too, right? But I never made a full career of any other than the technology part of it. And then I grew up. Not really. I mean, I'm still like a big kid these days. I just like to have fun and learn. And teaching and learning go hand in hand. So education, I've added on to that, as well as some of the dramatic arts, like through puppetry. So here's where it gets really interesting. Plot twist. So in my prior position, I used to teach faculty and staff how to use technology in their work, right, and reach new audiences. A lot of that was social media. So I was teaching people how to use social media, how to set up Facebook and Twitter, and back in the day, Google Plus, G Plus, if anybody remembers that. I wasn't getting a lot of traction, unfortunately. People thought it was a fad. They didn't have time. They said that their clients were not on social media. So I had to take a step back and say, okay, I got to take a different tack to this and show them how and why they should be doing social media, not how to set up systems, right? Give them more like a value proposition as like why this is important. And so I decided, okay, how can I do this? Well, just going back to all the stuff that I knew, aviation, music, media production, and technology. And I said, okay, so this was back in December of 2014. And I knew that drones were going to be a very popular gift item. So I decided I was going to make a PSA, public service announcement, about how to fly drones safely and responsibly in the airspace. And so I decided I was going to try to make a parody music video to encourage people, right? So to try to make it go viral, I was making it kind of humorous. And so I decided I was going to take a Christmas song, because this was during Christmas time, and I was going to change the lyrics, make a parody of it, and change the lyrics to talk about the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration's rules and guidelines to flying drones in the airspace. And I took the song, I'll be home for Christmas, and I changed it to, if you get a drone for Christmas, be sure to fly safely. You can look up the video on my YouTube channel. And I started that. I completed it, produced it, using freely available software, right? So I wanted to do this with no budget to show people the power that one person with just an idea and freely available tools could do. And I published it on YouTube, and I started promoting it on Twitter and on Google Plus and Facebook. Then all of a sudden, it just kind of took off, right? I was kind of aiming for the general public, but the people that really gravitated toward this were the people in the drone industry, which is kind of interesting. And so I started getting calls for interviews. Right, I was interviewed by Network World, the online version, and they wrote an article about me, and I became DroneSinger, the Weird Al of drones. People liked the song that I did. They asked me if I could do more, so I did a series of drone carols that Christmas during my vacation time, and it just kind of took off. I kind of created a monster, and I was starting to be known in the drone industry, in the early drone industry, as the guy who made songs about drones. But this also got the attention at work, because I was learning that we were doing research using drones in agriculture. And so I was putting out information about the research of drones that the university where I work is doing, and along with some of my songs, right? So I was kind of doing both things at the same time. And I actually got the attention of a national organization that works with land-grant universities that were setting up these teams, groups around emerging technologies such as big data, wearable technologies, virtual reality, and drones. And so they invited me to be part of the leadership team around the drones in agriculture, or they called it UAS, Unmanned Aircraft System in Agriculture Learning Network. So they sent me to Dallas, Texas, for an initial meetup, and of course, we're going around the room. They have all these really smart people with PhDs around doing research using drones in ag. And they come to me and it's like, what do you do? And I go, I make silly songs about drones. It was like a little bit of a stunned silence for a little bit. But then they said, wait a minute. It's like, social media, technology, online production and communications. And so their expertise is research on drones and ag. They didn't know how to use like Zoom and YouTube and Facebook and all that. So I became the marketing communications technology person for that group. And I set up Facebook and Twitter, and I was sending out the information that they were sending out to the public, assisted with the recording of the webinars and promoting the information. As part of that, we were part of a USDA NIFA grant, and there was a sub-award that I got to develop a drone workshop for youth, for 4-H youth. And of course, I called it Old MacDonald Has a Drone. And I made a parody song about Old MacDonald's song, but it was talking about how he has drones on his farm and how he uses them. And I did a series of drone workshops in ag. And of course, I would sing some of my songs a lot. Well, then they invited me to go to Washington, D.C. twice, to the U.S. Science and Engineering Festival, and highlight drones in agriculture with kids, talk to them about the research, but also to get up on stage and sing some of my songs and fly drones, which was really cool. And that led to me doing STEAM outreach and engagement, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So that's what I became known for, right? The youth outreach, using the arts to reach youth who might not naturally gravitate towards STEM subjects, and encouraging them to follow STEM career pathways. So that's basically what's happened in the meantime. It's been incredible, the attention that I've gotten from being the Weird Al of drones. It's really weird. So anytime I tell that to people, it brings up questions. It's like, oh, what is that? And gotten me recognition. It's kept me employed, and now I'm looking to, how can I leverage that as I'm looking towards, the end of my career, my formal career, and how can I use this to teach others, right, to give back and prepare myself for retirement. So I want to do, STEAM education with kids. Teach them how to write songs about science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and do puppetry for science communication as a full-time job after I retire, right, going in the schools. And so I've started doing some teaching artistry to do some of that art and music teaching at schools outside of my normal job. So I do that on the side, and eventually I want to do that full-time. And the reason I'm doing this video is to let people know that I'm starting a group that I would like, if you're interested in, starting a side gig and preparing for retirement, I'm happy to mentor and give you tips. And so stay tuned for more videos on this. Let me know in the comments, what is it that you wanted to be when you were a kid? And are you using that in your current job, or is it something that you dream of doing eventually? I'm very fortunate. So I ended up doing everything I was interested in as a kid. It just looks a little bit different. So I do my aviation, drone flying through the drones, and flight simulators. I do my music. I play different instruments. I've composed songs and made money off of that, and perform once in a while. The media production, obviously, I know how to do this YouTube stuff, and this is why I'm able to produce it. And then technology. So all of that stuff, I've used it to become DroneSinger, and now I'm trying to share this with others in hopes that others learn how to do it and are able to improve their lives by doing YouTube and doing media and doing personal branding. So if you're interested in learning how to do personal branding and networking and launch your second career, right, outside of your regular job, and do something on the side or eventually like full-time, follow along. subscribe, and we'll work together to get there. So thanks for listening. Look up some of my older drone songs if you like. And we'll see you next time.